Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. My name's Rose Pilkington, and I am a digital artist. So, firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to It's Nice that for inviting me to speak here tonight. I've always wanted to do this, and thank you so much for having me, and you've always been so supportive of me right since the very start, so thank you so much. So, yes, you're angels, thank you. So, digital artist, what is that? What do you do? So, in layman's terms, I create computer-generated digital artwork, so it's my job to visualize the visual. So the work that I love doing is essentially abstract and experimental image making, and often the kinds of briefs that I receive will be to take an abstract concept and then, whether that be to a word or a theme, and then turn that into a visual. So whether that be to take a set of colors and then translate that into a set of visuals, or to create an artist's interpretation of a sustainable process, or to create animated moving visuals for a live performance.
Raving, laughing and joking, you know what I mean? It's here to stay.
So hopefully that's all a little bit of a taste into the work that I make. But what I really wanted to talk to you about next is a subject that really makes me tick, and it's become a thread and a theme that's kind of woven its way into my work from the very beginning. And that is my love and fascination for colour. And that fascination has led me to ask these questions. Why are we so affected by colour? What kind of impact does it have on us? And why do we feel the way we do when we see a certain colour? And the thing is, there's so many factors at play here, and this processing of colour often goes very unnoticed, and certainly can be quite instinctual how we use it. So firstly, of course, we know through science how we perceive colour through our brains and our eyes, but what I'm really interested in is the psychological effect that it has on us, so the emotional feeling response, one that can literally see our moods and our behaviour shift. And then there's this other part to it, where we see our responses to colour, they're actually rooted in our biology. What is it about a sunset or a sunrise? Why do we feel this emotional, it's an emotional spectacle for us, this kind of gorgeous pinks, oranges, and purples of a sunset. There's something almost quite primal about it. And that perhaps many of our fundamental reactions to colour start with nature's role in forming our associations and our emotional responses to it. So if a person's reaction to orange is always related to this kind of primal memory of the sun, then perhaps that's why we refer to it as a warm shade, and we feel optimistic around it. And then, of course, it follows that with green, it reminds us of grass, trees, nature, and we feel tranquil and grounded. Colour can tell us a story. It can be used to signal action, and it can be a powerful communication tool that can influence us subconsciously. And I recently came across this very gimmicky trend term called dopamine art, which is, it's very Pinterest, very Etsy, I'm aware. But what I love about it is that it takes this idea that when we look at an artwork that's bold, bright, and colourful, we get a hit of dopamine, which we all need more of, right? I need that. So we're stimulated by these bright and these hot colours, and then we marker them with associations for energizing us, and they make us feel happy and joyful, and therefore boosts our mental health overall. So if color has the power to do this, then yes, give me more of that, give me more. So we make choices based on the way color objects are designed and presented to us. And so do animals. Similarly, in nature, of course, animals use color to communicate with each other. Many birds, like the bird of paradise we've all seen, they use color to choose its mate by this dazzling display of feathers, and the brighter and more beautiful they are, then the more they appeal to the female in question. So if you think of all the amazing ways that animals use color in this way, they tell us a story of why they're colored this way, because their colors serve for different evolutionary functions. And then, of course, in addition to attracting mates, we see color in animals being used for a sign of warning or for camouflage, mimicry, and how animals like the squid change color is a pretty otherworldly process. So this is a digital interpretation I made of chromatophores, which are the color-changing cells found in the skin of a squid. And their primary function is camouflage. So these little spots, they're like little balloons filled with pigment, and then when they expand, you see more color, and when they contract and shrink, you see less. So then they're able to tonally match the color of the background or the environment that they're in. It's amazing stuff. And then if we zoom in even further to take a closer look from a macro level to even a microscopic one, it can reveal even greater depths of beauty. So these are the scales of this Madagascan sunset moth magnified under a microscope, and they just make look at that. It's so gorgeous. It makes my jaw drop in the same sort of way that when you think about space and it's overwhelming and hard to comprehend, imagine these kind of micro worlds that are going on in nature right underneath our nose, and we can't see them with our own eyes. I think it's quite special. So using nature as a reference point, I find myself attempting to kind of recreate the colors, patterns, and textures, marrying the natural world with the digital, and then turning it into a commercial piece of artwork like I did here for a commission by Frieze Art Fair. So I next wanted to talk to you about an application of color in a slightly different context. So a couple of years ago, I was approached by Instagram to redesign their iconic gradient that sits behind the little infamous camera that we all know. And the logo was last redesigned in 2016, which is where we first saw this introduction of the gradient. So they came to me for a refresh and a reinterpret. Dream job, my time to shine, hopefully. So out with the old, in with the new. I will get to their shocking similarity after. So the brief, the challenge, design it to feel like it was lit from within rather than one-dimensional and flat, and create more of a sense of depth. So I was given a set of 5 vibrant new colors. So in essence, it's just a straightforward brief, right? It's just a gradient. But how could I push the boundaries of something so simple? And that was the challenge, of course. So these were my first explorations, trying various different ways of recreating it in 2D like it was originally made, but needed to feel more three-dimensional. So I tried digitally painting it, adding in texture that catches the light, warping surfaces with colors mapped over them, testing out different ways to play with light and shade. But I quickly realized that Instagram weren't really willing to steer too far away from this original anatomy of the gradient. So how could I solve this problem? So this is when I had my light bulb moment, and they wanted it to feel illuminated, so why not try making it out of an actual light source? Could I try creating a smooth gradient and simulate the look of light with pure color? So I built this rig in 3D using colored lights, so despite being flat, still had this kind of visual look of dimensionality. And it was then this technique that got the go-ahead. And sometimes it's very simple executions that hit the mark, and this was the first render I started out with. So now we had this fully customizable set, and I was then able to make many, many, many different iterations, possibly over 100 of this, this one gradient, kind of trying different color combinations and trying to find the harmony between the colors. And so over 6 months, believe it or not, 6 months later, and painstaking feedback, and many of these Figma boards, we got there in the end. And this was the final outcome, the switching on of the lights on the 3D rig. And this is the app icon that you see on your screen today. So, but yeah, before anyone gives me any hate for it looking barely any different, I've already heard it. Because the trolls are going to troll. And things never go unnoticed by the internet. So just wanted to take the opportunity to share all of the love that I got from the internet. And most people barely notice the difference. I don't know why. Lots of people commented on the increase in saturation, like someone had just switched a button and switched it up. Of course, I've been working away on it for months on end. So spare me a thought when you click on that little app on your phone, please. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch upon a subject that's very close to my heart, hopefully one that I'm not alone in. Anyone in the room? And that, as a very self-deprecating British person, is imposter syndrome and self-doubt. And that, along with the help of my ADHD, is a little cocktail of worry that I have experienced all throughout my creative career. And so I just felt like it was important to mention it. And I even rejected this talk a year ago because I thought it wasn't good enough. Not attention-seeking, I'm just saying. So anyway, we've got to talk about these things, and I wanted to stand up on the stage and talk about this. But I've not overcome this feeling yet, but I've been trying to learn to reframe and manage the negative inner voice in my head, and practice a little bit more self-compassion. So I've tried to start to seek words of affirmation from the people close to me and from the community around me, and know that comparing yourself to others gets you bloody nowhere. And put your bloody phone down, delete Instagram. Celebrate those big wins, no matter how big or small. And where you may feel like you're out of your depth, remember all the times that you got through it and survived. Thank you very much.